Thank you so much for gifting us with some time this afternoon. And this is our first of what I hope will be many think tanks. And the purpose of a think tank is to be very conversational. So we want to have a conversation with you. I want my new friends to meet my old friends, not by age, but my longer standing friends, so that we can all get to know one another and just kind of build some synergy amongst ourselves. So my purpose for today really is just to introduce and to welcome you all and to let you know how excited I am to be part of the 806 Technologies team and part of an organization that is totally committed to creating a world of innovative schools. And what we know, and we just met with Molly, so it's just so funny. Here I am in Boise, Idaho. We were just having lunch, Nick and I, with Molly here in Boise. So not trying to rub it in, Hortensia. But anyway, it was awesome to have the conversation with her and to introduce Nick to Molly, because so much of our conversation centered around how we can all work together to achieve that mission of creating a world of innovative schools. So one way to start is by having the 806 Technologies team share who we are, what we do. Some of you are already familiar with 806 Technologies, already a partner of 806 Technologies. But for those of you who are not, I wanted you to have the opportunity to hear it directly from the team, the origin story, who we are, what we do, and then also to hear from you about how we can work together and just get better at our mission of creating a world of innovative schools. So that's my kickoff for today. And we are recording. So we will keep that in mind as we go through with a think tank today. Again, a think tank is meant to be conversational. This is a time for us just to talk with one another. It's good that it's a smaller group. We are recording it so that people who register get a copy of the recording and can listen to it at their leisure. So please, by all means, invite other people down the road. And if we have future think tanks and you cannot be a part of it, don't hesitate to still register, because you will get a copy of the recording. So before I hand it over to our CEO, Ross, I did want to introduce Brittany, our Director of Marketing, who has the great pleasure of working with folks like me who are running around in airports and trying to get their Zoom account linked in and calling her, frantically at the last minute to get me logged on. So Brittany deserves so much credit for getting this all pulled together. So I wanted you all to meet Brittany and for her to say a few words before we officially kick off. So Brittany.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining today. You probably received a couple of emails from me. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications. So anytime you're getting some of those invitations for think tanks, those are coming from me. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to register and attend today. And I look forward to strengthening our relationship.
Thank you, Brittany. So Ross, you are first up. So if we could advance the slide. Here's our full agenda, but we'll advance it just a little bit further and begin with our opening remarks from Ross Lauder.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today. We're super excited to have you here. As Kevin said, he wanted me to take a few minutes and kind of tell you about our origin story, because I think that's so important. And as you guys get to know us a little bit better, I think you'll start to understand why our company operates so much differently than others that you've ever probably interacted with. So let me take you back to 16 years ago. I went home to visit my parents, and my mom was an assistant superintendent in her school district, and I promise I'll give you guys a short version today. But she was at home working on one of her programs, her software programs for her school district had given her, and she was really struggling with it. And being the family IT guy, I'm sure you guys got an IT person in all y'all's own families at home. There tends to be one of us almost everywhere. But I knew she was struggling with it, and so I went to go try to help. And so I went and looked at it, and lo and behold, she was working on a program that was still on a CD-ROM. And so I was asking her about that. I was like, Mom, how do your principals use this if you've got the CD-ROM, or does everybody have a CD? And she's like, no, we only have one, and we have to pass it around. I'm like, oh, I was like, this is terrible. I was like, everything's moving to the internet. Let me build you a website, and you guys can all log in together. It'll make you and your principal's lives a lot easier. And she's like, man, that would be great. She's like, nobody writes really good software for school districts. We could really use some help in that area. So being a computer programmer myself, I was writing software for Bank of America and Bank of Wachovia at the time. And so I took a look at what she wanted, and I was like, oh, I can build this in my spare time. And so that's what I did. So I started working on that in my spare time, and I built a program for her. And by the following school year, we had it ready to go. And so I helped her roll it out to her school district. All of her principals started using it. And I went back to my day job, and I didn't think much of it until a couple of weeks later. And that's when my phone started ringing, and other school districts next to hers had heard about it. And so principals in her district had started telling principals in other districts, hey, we got this new program. It's making our lives a lot easier. And so they started reaching out to me and saying, hey, Ross, we want to buy this program for you. And I was like, you know what? I really just built it to help my mom. And they're like, we don't care. Can you please put a price tag on it? We want to buy it from you. And so I said, okay, we'll figure this thing out. And so that first school year, we had 3 school districts. That second school year, we had 7 school districts. And then we got to that third year, we had 11 school districts. And so just to kind of keep I know we're kind of short on time today, kind of keep it short, but we'll fast forward to 12 years later where we're at now. And as of last week, we're serving 1,300 school districts across the entire nation, all because I just took some time to help my mom back in the day. And so that's my story, the very shortened version of how we kind of got started to helping school districts. And as we've grown and we've hired more employees, and we got all sorts of great people, a lot of them who are on this phone call here, as Kevin has said, I always tell everybody, I was like, our mission is really to help create a world of innovative schools. And whether that's through software or training or other services and stuff we provide, we're really a services-based company. We really want to serve you guys. And, we just happen to make really good software on the side, but we're really here to serve you guys, because even like for our support team and stuff like that, I always tell them, anytime somebody chats in or calls in or something, take care of them like you would take care of your own mom, because at one point it was my mom. And so that's why we go above and beyond to do almost everything that we do, is to really serve you guys, because this has really been a family thing for me. My mom was an assistant superintendent. I married a teacher. We got all sorts of educators in our family line. And so I've seen the stress and the things and the multiple hats that you guys have to wear all the time. And so we want to really just be able to use our knowledge and our technology and other things that we have in order to better serve you guys. And so kind of leaning into that, that's also why we wanted to start these think tanks. One of the things that Kevin really encouraged us to do is that way we can spend more time hearing from you guys, and because we always like to ask, how can we best serve you? And so we're looking forward to hearing more from you guys, and hearing your ideas and thoughts, and seeing if there's other things we could possibly do to help serve you guys, because we truly do want to help. And so thank you again for being here, and we're super excited to kick these things off.
Thank you, Ross. And to Ross's point about how we can better serve you, him having just shared the origin story of 806 Technology, some of you may have heard it before, others may be hearing it for the first time, but any thoughts from the group about how that story or our goal to create a world of innovative schools is resonating with those of you that are on this call right now? Does anyone want to chime in or share? Remember, this is a conversation.
Kevin, I'll jump in there. I remember hearing that speech from Miss Lauder probably 12 years ago in Judson ISD in San Antonio, and where you actually trained us to use the software. And I remember we went from feeling like we were herding cats, where we couldn't get all the information put into one place, to where it was like, you got to be kidding me. This is all one program, and all we have to do then after we put everything in is hit print. And so, the story that Ross just told is like deja vu, because it's literally the exact way it was told, just through your mother's lens back then. And so it carried a lot of weight with us. And I think every district I've been in has used Plan for Learning since. So we really appreciate, what 806 Technologies created in that programming. So thank you guys so much. It just really resonated.
That's really awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. I remember training in Judson. That has been a while back, hasn't it? So the one part of the story that he left out is really, I think the first reason why he came over to sit down beside me is because I was ignoring him and I think he was hungry. He was afraid he would not get fed.
That's true.
Well, Don, we are so glad to have you on this call. And Don and I work together in Longview ISD, and now he's in a growing district, Sheldon ISD. So I'm so glad to have you on this call, Don, and thanks for chiming in. So everyone else feel comfortable, please. This, again, it's a conversation. I'm going to keep saying it. So please feel free to interject. Well, Leslie, I think it was a great lead in for you because you and Kel are up next. So if you'd introduce yourself, tell a little bit about who you are, and then address some of the items we have on the slide here today.
Sure. Thank you very much. Well, I am the mom. We have actually had people call the company and ask to speak to the mom, which is kind of interesting, but that's fun. And of course, you know that I'm an educator. Since I was a little bitty girl, I knew that I wanted to be an educator. And I've been a teacher, of course. I've been an elementary principal, middle school principal, assistant superintendent, and now I have the best job in the world because I retired and went to work for my son. So it's been a wonderful thing to be able to have a bigger audience and a bigger it's just been a joy to be able to support and help other schools. And along the way too, I got to bring one of my best friends in the whole world, and that is Kel Spradling, and she's going to start this PD part. But just a quick word about Kel. Kel and I met teaching third grade in classrooms right next to each other. And that was way before, oh my goodness, I think that was during the time when you had to ride your horse to school and park him in the barn. But it's been a moment or two, but we've stayed friends all these years, and her career has really not followed mine, but mirrored mine. At the same time, I was an elementary principal, so was she. And same time I was in central office, so was she. And so we've just kept that partnership. And now she and I lead the professional development team. We have a whole team of trainers together. And she's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm so glad to be a part of this. And yes, I've known Ross since before he was a year old, when he was jabbering in my ear, I'm sure telling me I'm going to be your boss someday on there. But it's been a wonderful experience working for 806 Technologies. I want to tell you just a tiny bit about our professional learning team. Leslie and I are not the only educators. All 10 of us are educators, and we have experience from being classroom teachers all the way to superintendent, all the way to some working at the state education department. So I think that's one of the things that is very unique about us. Every one of us are educators. So we've walked in the shoes of the people that we're working with. When the company first started, our professional learning really was always attached to our software products. And that's where we did it. And of course, as educators, Leslie and I were the only two professional learning team members at that time. We could not really do a software training without interjecting, a lot of things, saying, oh, if you'll do your CNA this way, oh, this is why you do federal documentation. And so it really has just evolved from training on the software, but also bringing in that professional learning as we go along. And our offerings have just blown up over the last few years. And I'm going to let Leslie take it from there to tell you about some of the things we do.
Well, one of the things that we do is, of course, stay very close to educators, listening to what they're experiencing. And I think especially since COVID and all that disruption, we've really been focused on what do leaders need right now, and how can we support them so that they can better move schools forward? And one of the things that we know is that schools that do well have a plan, and the leaders in those schools know how to look at strengths and build on those and identify and prioritize their needs and get to the root causes and all of those things that I know you know so well. And our goal in our training is to help them through this process, and also to learn how to streamline their initiatives so that the greatest amount of power through their personnel, their time, and their money is targeted towards those greatest needs. And I think that that is really the key. And I would love your feedback on that, because I think that's the key to this chaotic educational field that we have right now. People are trying to get their feet steady back on the ground again. And so we're striving with our professional development to help them do that, to lighten that load and get them back on solid ground again. And we know that good leaders understand that urgency of school improvement, and they know how to apply that gentle pressure and just be relentless on moving forward. And so we are super excited about a whole venue of new training for leadership. And you're going to hear from Evan here in just a little bit about this whole professional development for leaders. And we're very proud of that. But we also keep our focus on planning, and we do a lot of training surrounding comprehensive needs assessments that's separate from our software, because every school needs a needs assessment and every school needs a good plan. So we've got tips and tools and all kinds of things to help schools, principals, and their leaders, their school leaders, join together and really have an impact on their schools. So we're very excited about that. We've got some other training. Cindy's going to tell you about TELP here in a few moments. And well, of course, we've got great training that goes with our software, with Title I Crate and all of our crates and Plan for Learning and so forth. So I'm going to pitch that back to our next person on the.
Yeah, let's go ahead and advance the slide. And thank you, Leslie and Cal. And next up is Mark Haley and Terry McCain. So Mark and Terry, if you'd introduce yourselves. But before you do that, I want you to hold that thought, because one of the guests here today is my cousin, Patty, who is superintendent of schools. So Patty, I want you to say a quick hello from the Northeast, because I think you're representing the whole Northeast on this call today.
That's wonderful. And hello, and I'm glad to be able to join all of you. It's always wonderful to see Kevin. And so I'm glad to be able to be part of this. And I thought when you were talking about introducing your oldest friends, I think I qualify, since I knew you when I was little.
Yeah, I left out relatives. So that's awesome. Well, thank you, Patty. And again, please feel free to interject. As Leslie called out, any comments, any suggestions, thoughts that you have about what's being shared, we encourage you to do that throughout the think tank today. Well, Mark and Terry, you're up next. So if you would take it from here.
Sure thing. Thank you, Kevin. Well, my name is Mark Haley, and I'm Chief Customer Officer here at 806 Technologies. And much like everyone here, I've been in K-12 in some capacity for 29 or 30 years now. I grew up in an educator household. Dad was a principal, in it for 35 years. Mom was a kindergarten teacher, in it for 31. So I went to my very first school event when I was about 3 or 4 weeks old. So other than a few years going to college, I've been around K-12 public schools my whole life. So, and which is why it's been really cool to make so many friends like David in particular over the years. Because Dave and I have hung out a lot the last 10, 15 years. But that's me. Terry, I'll let Terry introduce herself.
Okay, I'm going to apologize for the background noise. I'm having coffee today with some Baylor Bears in Waco, Texas at the Starbucks. And so I am the local feet on the street for Texas and Oklahoma. I am the district partnership representative for the company. And in that role, I consider myself an evangelist. I love to tell the 806 story. Ross gives the cliff notes, and I go into great detail because I get excited about that, because in 25 years of selling K-12 educational technology, I can tell you that this little company has the best, the most supportive teams across the board, from support, implementation, training, technology, sales, you name it. Everybody is one cohesive team, and that is truly the case. I've worked for some really large companies, and they are wonderful companies for what they are, but you're just a number in a really large company sometimes. And here, everybody's family, and we consider that our partnerships, our customers, are family as well. And so we hold their hand through the life of the partnership, not just the first year. They can come back to us anytime, and we welcome their conversation. We welcome their ideas. And like Ross tells pretty often, you know, we're not the smartest tools in the shed every day. We like to listen to the customers to get ideas for moving forward and enhancing products over time. And really and truly, a lot of what you see in our products came from the customer, the end user. So that's my story, and I'm glad to be here and glad to meet you guys. And I will go back on mute and get away from this loud noise. So thank you.
Great, Terry. Thank you. So with Don and David here out of Texas, Leslie was mentioning Plan for Learning. Ross talked about Plan for Learning. Bo Sheldon and Edgewood and South San Antonio ISD, both have used Plan for Learning and Title I Crate. So Plan for Learning is our web-based improvement planning software that really makes that improvement planning piece from start to finish a lot easier. From the monitoring, as Leslie mentioned, the comprehensive needs assessment, developing that, building the plan, and conducting those formative reviews throughout the course of the year, and getting more people involved in that process. And we've expanded outside of Texas. So Patty, you know, there in the Northeast, it is available, and it can really help you guys a lot. But we also have our crate system, which I know Don and David also are familiar with our crate system, because it's not just Title I Crate, which is what everybody refers to it as, but it's customizable. So it can be like for Title III Crate, it could be CTE Crate, it could be Special Ed Crate, it could be Safety Crate, it could be really any kind of crate system that you want to take and set up and structure all those compliance items, send them to the schools, collect them back, review and monitor them, and then have everything there available to you for at least 7 years anytime you have a local, state, federal audit or monitoring that you have to prepare for. I don't know if you guys knew this, but we also have a translation services, and that is our internal team conducts translations of plans, student handbooks, code of conduct, those sorts of things. And we don't use any like Google Translate or anything like that. And as Leslie and Kel described, was our professional learning, lots of different offerings. The needs assessment, strengthening your CNA is one big one, but they also offer leadership. They also offer board trainings, and then they can customize trainings as you need. And then lastly is TELP. Well, this is kind of new. Tracking EL progress. It is the best, most efficient, most user-friendly software for that. In Texas, I'm going to use LPAC process. It has everything any LPAC committee in the state of Texas in particular has to have to really have a real meaningful, productive, and compliance LPAC meeting for those individual students. So with that, I just wanted to let you guys know about the TELP, and then I'll turn it back over to Kevin.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mark and Terry. And Terry, we didn't hear the background noise. It's probably noisier here in the airport than it is there in your Starbucks. But
Thank goodness.
but I think Mark teed it up beautifully. So if you'd go to the next slide. And one more, these are all the solutions that Mark just mentioned. We're going to go next to Cindy Gibson. So one of my first exposures to our solutions was TELP with Cindy, and I was blown away not only by the solution, but by Cindy. So Cindy, talk to us about TELP.
That was so nice. Thank you. Yes, it's great to be here. Thank you for your time today. My name is Cindy Gibson, and I'm a professional learning specialist here at 806. I have to go back to the story. I see Molly's chat saying, love the testimony. And I got to tell you the power of this mother-son testimony. It's the reason that I'm here. I was with my previous supervisor at a conference, a national conference, and he said, let's go down and see the 806 folks because we were users of the products. And so they told the story and I just got lost in all of the story, staring and starry-eyed. And I just blurted out in front of my supervisor, I want to work for you. So he said, Cindy Gibson. And I just, of course, I mean, it took a long time for that to happen. I was committed to my position and kept on with that. And some other things happened where it just showed up on my screen one day. And I remembered back to that conversation and the mission of this company. And here I am. So I'm really grateful to be here. I've been a teacher, a campus administrator. I've held various roles at the district level. One of those, which makes me passionate about TELP, is overseeing the Title III bilingual education allotment funding and compliance. I also grew up overseas, spending all of my elementary years in a multilingual environment. So supporting districts to serve their EB students is really relatable and personally rewarding for me. So just really grateful to be here. Basically, the why of TELP is just true to our mission at 806. We started to notice that districts, as you well know, you're probably experiencing it yourselves, had a really amplified focus on supporting their EBs as the number of identified students started to increase and really is continuing to increase. So new requirements are coming in, it's stretching our administrators often beyond their capacity, and not just with that content, language support, instructional support in the classroom, but the documentation, maintaining the required documentation is just really, it's a beast, right? So true to our mission, we started thinking about how to make the compliance easier and allow our partners in education to focus on their teachers and their students. So we worked in tandem with TEA's former bilingual director, Barbara Kennedy, to address common needs and just really streamline the process through the software solution. So that's how TELP was born. As Mark said, it stands for Tracking English Learner Progress. Super dynamic, easy to navigate. It starts off with identification meetings and goes all the way through all the meetings, generating the forms and the letters needed, all the way through reclassification and monitoring. And it just holds all of that documentation tight for you and centralized, accessible to everybody who needs that. It collects electronic signatures. You can just apply those to all your forms. It integrates with Test Hound, which is amazing. The STAR accommodations and the STAR decisions are flowing through nightly to Test Hound to support not just our federal programs and our Title III, but also the testing coordinators in the district. So it's just an amazing product. And side note, one of our developers is actually an EB who grew up through the system and is now creating the product. So also a personal connection for him and just really, really amazing product that's been created. But I would actually love to hear, I heard, Hortensia, that you might be my new best friend. So I'm excited for us to have some time together. Kevin's making a love connection. But I would love to hear from really anyone how you see, what types of needs you see that we could address to better serve your EB students.
Well, Hortensia, since you are a former director of bilingual ESL, and I know you're going to be meeting tomorrow with the team to go deeper into TELP, but just general thoughts that you have off the top of your head. I know we've talked a lot about this topic and the fact that really every learner is a language learner, but do you have any thoughts that you'd like to add to what Cindy just shared?
So definitely, I mean, there's so many things that it's like check, 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 check. Going back to Leslie, I think, one of the things that you mentioned was being able to streamline, all these initiatives and things like that, because I think that is so extremely important right now, because I really feel with the teachers that I've been working with lately that they are overwhelmed because, they, it seems like they're trying to solve a problem by just throwing things at teachers, and now do this, and now, oh, and now we're going to buy you this, and now we're going to get you this, and the teachers are going like, so where do I start? And so being able to help districts know what is really going to help and what should we focus on first, and what should be a priority for teachers versus this is just a resource. I mean, even that, you ask them that, I'm like, is that just a resource? Is that mandatory? And they're like, don't know, And so, definitely, that was one thing that just kind of hit me when you mentioned that, Leslie. And as far as with help, I think I know a lot of times, again, working with teachers, I will ask them, so what levels are your students are at? And they're like, and I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You need to know. You're in the classroom with them. You should know. And again, a lot of times it's that they don't have access to that information. And if they do, it's a whole process of how do I log in again and get this and get that. It's not readily accessible to them to be able to say, oh, well, let me tell you, boom, it's right there. And this child has, we're monitoring this child. They have no clue. They don't know at times even the levels, much less once they're monitored, they're forgotten. And that's one of the things that I used to experience a lot is that, all right, you have this child in your classroom, he's being monitored. Like, really? Because once they're reclassified, a lot of times they're forgotten. And I think that was something that, we always had in the forefront about, no, they're still being monitored. They still can come back if they're not being successful. We need to keep on top of that and things like that. But yeah, I mean, working with through the whole process for LPAC, I mean, it was, but we had so many papers and things to keep straight. We'd walk into the school dragging a thing, for our LPAC meetings because, we had all these folders for all these kids, and it was just so hearing this, it's like, oh my God, that would have been so cool, to be able to do that. The other thing that I always struggled with is looking at this from the lens of a dual language school district. Whereas you're saying, Cindy, you grew up in a school that was multilingual. A lot of our schools that are having dual language, we also need to see the progress of our Spanish language learners as well. So that a lot of departments are now not just bilingual departments like when I was there, they're multilingual departments. And so how do we also be able to monitor those students who are in our dual language programs, who might be not just learning English and Spanish, but in my school district, they were learning Japanese, Chinese, Russian, how do we track those kids? Because they also need to be tracked. Parents have made a choice to put them into these programs so they are multilingual. So how do we do that to better serve those students as well? So, and I
thank you for sharing that. It's your statements are powerful, and I especially like the part where you're talking about dragging an entire box into the school. Now you can just walk in with your laptop or your iPad, you're good to go, right?
Right. So
thank you, Hortensia.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Hortensia and Cindy, and more to come on that. Obviously, this is a topic that bears more conversation, so we're kind of scraping the tip of the iceberg here with so many of the topics today. If you could advance the slide, Brittany. This is just a little bit about TELP, so you can find out more on our website. And Terry and I are actually working on gathering another testimonial to share on our website, something a little bit more current and up to date with the current user of TELP. So stay tuned for that. We'll be working with Brittany to provide that for you on our website. So next up, Evan Grasser, who Leslie alluded to earlier, is going to talk to us about some of our new professional learning offerings. So Evan, take it from here.
Well, it is so great to be with all of you today. And I come to you as a learner, and I believe that that's what it's all about in every role that we have. And so as we come to this, and I go back way with Leslie. Leslie and I grew up in the Panhandle as deputy superintendents. I moved from a district of about 3,800 to chief academic officer of a district of about 76,000. And then I'm in New Mexico, came here to a district of 18,000 and was a chief school improvement officer here. And so I've been in lots of roles. And what I noticed all through those roles was the need for systematic professional development and professional learning. And we love to refer to it as learning, because if we ever stop that as leaders, we are in trouble. So when we think about this, what we're trying to design is something that's customizable for a reason and for a purpose that people can immediately take back into place and put into action. And it's built on some very solid tenets. The first is that we're all learners and that we feel like brilliance is in the room. And if you can learn to access that brilliance by building teams that are dynamic, where we move away from those collegial conversations and those competitive conversations, not the collegial, that we move away from the congenial conversations and those competition conversations to really be collegial, where we can look at problems from every different side. We ourselves are brilliant. So much of what we're doing is looking around how to build teams to really systematically impact the entire system, starting at the central office level, where if we do not have a cabinet that is coming together to lead and who is powerful in their vision and really focused on meeting those goals and objectives that the school has together, and that everything is aligning from that direction, it's very hard to not have chaos below. And so we really start with that piece there, building upon the brilliance of the organization. And we know brilliant people are in these positions. So it's really learning to actualize the brilliance to come together so that we're making great systems for our folks and systematic decisions. And then we ground it all in what we know the research says that we want from leaders. And so we really work with leaders to instill these 4 things. And that is trust within the organization, compassion within the organization, high levels of stability and all that means, and then hope. Those are the 4 things when you think about what we all want from leaders. That's what Tom Rath has pulled it down to in the RAND organization. And so we really always are constantly thinking of those 4 things when we're working with leaders. The other thing that we know is the work happens on the campus. So it's really that systematic feeling that central office is there to support principals on those campuses as instructional leaders. And so with that in mind, then working with principals to, as somebody said earlier, kind of cut through the chaos so that we can build systems that are supportive and not, as I call it, ready, fire, aim. So much of what we do is just sprinkling the dust to see what takes and what doesn't. And what we do know is that approach just frustrates people because they don't know which is going to stick. And then change is happening all the time at all different levels that we as educators get confused because we want to do the very best job possible. And our belief is everybody comes to school every day with the best intentions. And so how can we as leaders capitalize on that and bring it together? But the other thing that we know, so the power up is really working with that central office level or teams and building that great focus and understanding. So where that team can be making decisions for the organization. The principal's lead is about building the power of the principal and building the areas in which will help them lead their campuses. And then we use Take Flight, which is a DISC assessment. I mean, all of us have taken DISC or Enneagram or Myers-Briggs or True Colors or whatever it might be. But we like this one because it's very sticky. People come to this and they really begin to understand them and how team dynamics work. So we infuse that in there. But more than anything else, when I was looking for professional development, the needs that I had were not the same needs that the district next door had. So I wanted customization for our professional learning. And we feel like we can do that. We can work with the district to unpack their needs, and then we can design what will help them move forward specifically around theirs. It's not canned. We can design it for those districts. And so that's the power that we hope to bring to you guys. And I'd love to hear some of your comments. There are brilliant people on our team, and you guys are all brilliant yourselves. What we know is that we are facilitators of learning, that again, the brilliance is everywhere. And we just want to unleash that to really create that world of innovative education in schools. Kevin, you're muted.
I am on mute. I'm on mute. I'm incredibly excited about what you just shared and the possibilities that this represents for the schools and districts that we serve. One of the individuals on our call is Dr. Seth Batiste, who served in a variety of different roles himself, is a bilingual individual. And Seth, I know this is music to your ears, I'm guessing, Seth. I know you're driving, but are you able to just say a quick hello?
I'm gonna park so we can chat. Yeah, I'm picking up the 4-year-old, and I'm so excited to be here, and I'm just taking it all in. This is like candy to my ears. I have a bilingual. I'm certified bilingual educator as well, so I think we have some folks doing that. I've done LPAC as well as a bilingual teacher. I was assigned LPAC as a chairperson. I'm big into compliance, so that was candy as well. One of the roles I served at the college level was accreditation and compliance. Really enjoy compliance. I still do that work now. So I guess as I'm in early retirement. And so I started an LLC around in 2020 when COVID first hit. And so one of the things that I enjoy doing is kind of solving problems. But in this case, I'm listening for a fit. So I'm open. I'm looking for some type of partnership or collaboration. How can I help 806 Technologies? And so that's what I'm about. And I'm going to continue to listen. I like what you all are doing. It's spinning in my head. I would love to see more detail of what some of the. I've been taking some notes here while I was sitting in the parent line. And so I'd love to follow up after the meeting about some of the notes I've taken. But thank you so much for inviting me.
So glad you're here, Seth. Thank you so much. Brittany, if you would advance the slide. We're coming to a close here. We're getting closer. In fact, what do you know? This is our closure right now. But before we do close out, and the noise is going to pick up because they're going to start boarding us on our flight here in just a minute. But I would like to hear a little bit from the others from whom we've not yet heard. So I'd like to hear from, let's see, David. We've been referencing David Abundis. I've known David for many years as well. And then also Keith and the school that he started. So David, we'll let you go first. And then Keith, if you'd kind of round us out, and then Brittany and I will sign off unless others on the team have more to say. And Molly, of course, as well. How can I forget Molly? I was just with her for lunch. So David, we'll let you go first. So.
Sure. Just get out of thanks for inviting me as well. So the reason I joined, Kevin, I think it was just the title, the innovations, right? Let's do this think tank about innovation. So if you guys aren't familiar, Edgewood has like 5 zones of innovation. We have a STEAM zone, a fine arts zone, an early childhood zone, our leadership zone, public service zone. So when Kevin invited me to this, I was like, I'm going to listen to see what's out there. So I definitely want to get more information about this principal LEAD, L-E-A-D, and also what this power up is and take flight. So definitely probably follow up with you, Kevin, or the website like you referenced. We can go to the website and get some more information on that to see how some of these profession developments can support our innovation zone. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And since I oversee the ESSO program, there is funding for that. So let's see what you guys can do for us.
Well, and David, you're a true partner, and you've always been, I know, with 806 and with me, with other organizations with which I worked. And So we're here to learn from you. So the title innovation was there because that's our mission, to create a world of innovative schools. So we're going to get there with your help. And that was something that Ross stressed really greatly when we first talked about doing a think tank, was how do we use these opportunities to gather information from people in the fields to further our mission and the work that we do to serve schools and districts throughout the nation. So yeah, Mark, go ahead.
A question, David, what are you hearing from your principals and your APs? David's in Edgewood. It's on the southwest side of San Antonio. What are you hearing from your school leadership? What are they looking for in terms of kind of feeding their soul? What are they needing? Where are they struggling? What do they want help with?
Like since I oversee some of these grants that we receive, so sometimes they just need like leadership as far as how to create these programs to be successful. I know that we also started a new principal leadership academy. So any principal from 0 to 1, we started that this year as well. So that's why a lot of these topics are kind of interesting. So I can then go back and present to these guys and support them through different funding sources to be able to get these principals what they need to be successful at their campuses, which Kevin can tell you that I've always been very supportive of our principals, try to bring ideas to them so they can be successful, be an innovative campus. Because that's what, especially with nowadays with COVID, some of these kids we need to motivate them, try things differently, bring different components, different activities, different experiences. So that's something that I take with a lot of heart and try to support these principals as much as possible. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of these things, see what they are, so I can report back out here in Edgewood. Again, it's my first year here, so I'm still trying to get a feel for the whole thing. It was challenging last year because I came in and we have so many grants that we apply for. We apply for here in Texas, we have a charter school program grant. There's another grant called the School Action Fund grant, which they're big bucks. They're like $1 million per campus. But I noticed a lot of our principals struggling designing these innovative campuses. So I'm hoping that maybe something in these trainings can guide us a little bit more.
Cool. Well, tell Phil that Ross and Mark said hey.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, David. And so we're running close to the end, and it's going to get noisy here. So, but I would like to hear from the others. So maybe we'll go to Molly next. So Molly, why don't you say a quick hello and tell us who you are? Where are you?
Well, hello from Idaho. That's a place up north where sweet tea is actually not unsweetened, but we still like iced tea just all the same. And I'm a federal programs consultant for multilingual programs within the Boise School District. We work with approximately anywhere from 1,800 to 4,000 students coming from about 83 countries, depending on what is happening in the world. Half of our population are US born multilingual learners. A good third from there are immigrants, and then the other third are refugee or asylum seekers. And just, it's an amazing opportunity to work with some incredible teachers and administrators. And if you can't remember, my dad was a Southerner. He's from Florida. So actually my name is Molly Jo. So Molly Jo from Idaho, so you can remember me.
Awesome, Molly. Thank you so much. Molly is amazing, and so glad to be able to work with you again and get to reconnect. So Keith.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really expecting to say, but if you know me, I could go on for days and days about what we've done with our little school up. My wife and I started a private school, actually, after 25 years of being counselors and principals in public school. We kind of decided there wasn't what we needed for our own kids. So we started our own. And when I heard innovative, that's kind of, I heard crazy. And that's kind of what we thought when we did this. And so we brought 25 years of public education into creating an independent school that is built around the kids. So our goal was to take the kid and build the school around the kid. So every kid is essentially his own IEP, and every kid is his own campus. So the campus and the curriculum doesn't move without the kid. The kid is the curriculum, and we've kind of embedded that together. And we're a micro school, which is pretty small right now, but we kind of, nothing is new to what we've done. It's almost like pre-industrial revolution to the one-room schoolhouse, and every kid is where they are, no matter what they're studying, and whether they're a first grader or second grader or 12th grader, they're doing what they need to do. So when I heard innovative, it kind of was like we kind of anti-innovative, and we went back to the way things have been to kind of start anew and see a different way of doing things. So our goal is to kind of turn it on its ear and see what we can accomplish with this, and using some of the streamline and the practices for plans and growth, as far as how do we contain our mindsets that can kind of go a little bit in too many directions. So when I heard what Kevin was doing here, it was like I just got to hear what it's all about, and how it can help us. So, and how we can help just from a different mindset. So it's great to be here.
Well, Keith, thank you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thanks to everyone for being here. We won't go around the circle and ask for your greatest takeaway. I think we've already touched on some of that, but feel free to reach out to any one of us. There will be a follow-up email with the recording of this think tank that you can share with others. And like I said, this will be the first of many. So you may have ideas for topics that you would like for us to address. Molly, I thought it was interesting that what Keith talked about sounded like a pedagogical model and approach, did it not? So I'm very excited about that. Thank you so much to our 806 team. And so I'm going to get on this flight, or I'm staying at Molly's house this evening because I may be stuck here in Boise. So I'll be signing off here in a second, but so I'm going to let Brittany close us out.
Yeah, so just like Kevin said, I'll be sending this recording out to everybody. And in that email, I'll also be asking for any feedback on future think tank topics. We'd love to collect those from you guys. So a big thank you to you guys for participating today, and we look forward to future collaboration sessions with the think tank. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
I see you later, Kevin, Mark. Take care, guys.